who is going to give a talk on impact of COVID-19 on molecular testing in tumor samples.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot to the European Society of Pathology for giving me the nice opportunity to talk about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in our daily practice of pathologists. And my talk will focus on the impact of this disease on molecular testing in human sample in routine clinical practice, not in research, both when using fresh or formalin-fixed embedded samples. So this is the roadmap of this very short presentation. I will start with a short background, the general consideration, and then I will give you again the two guidelines of some international societies, the WHO and the CDC, for molecular biology pathology. And after that, I will show you maybe what could be the most important associated risk level with the samples that we receive in the molecular pathology laboratories. And I will switch on the main recommendation and requirements in molecular pathology laboratory. And then I will try to show you what could be the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in a molecular pathology laboratory, and what could be a new organization in the near future. So short background, it's quite obvious, but I would like to, again, to highlight that in a few days, I mean, we have an increased number of deaths and cases, and you can see that the most impact countries are, of course, the US, but now UK, Italy, Spain, and France. And specifically in France, of course, in the north of France, we have a lot of cases, but also I have to say that even in the south and in my city, Nice, we have a lot of cases of COVID. So it's a general situation in France. Something interesting also, I think we need to be aware about the asymptomatic disease. And there is a couple of papers, recent paper, of course, showing that the incidence of asymptomatic patients is quite high. And we don't know exactly the percentage according to the publication, but between 10 to 17% of the population, which is positive for the COVID-19, is asymptomatic. So in this context, we don't know exactly how many samples are infected and can be potentially contagiousness in daily practice. It's not because we know that the patient has some symptoms, but I think if the patient is not tested for the COVID-19, we don't know exactly what can be the potentially contagiousness of these samples. So we have to take care, of course, for all our samples. So there is two guidelines for molecular biology practices. Of course, there is a statement from 2020 from the WHO organization saying that non-propagative diagnosis laboratory work, including nucleic acid extraction and sequencing, should be conducted in a facility using procedure equivalent to biosafety level 2. So it's very important because it's quite unusual to work with fixed samples and nucleic acid extraction from FFPE in a biosafety level 2. So this is the statement of the WHO, and also the statement for the CDCs, and the statement said that all surgical pathology activity, including molecular analysis, performed on formalin-fixed samples from patients affected by COVID-19 should be performed in a BCL2 lab. It means that even on formalin-fixed samples. So this is a CDC statement. So what samples and associated risk level now? I think, of course, and I agree with the previous speaker, I think, of course, we need to take care about formalin-fixed paraffin embedded tissue, but and fixed tissue, but I think it's a very low risk. But I mean, the risk zero, I mean, it's quite difficult to say that we have zero risk when we use this kind of sample. So we have definitively to take care anyway. Now, concerning the fluids, I have to say that the blood in EDTA, I mean, the risk is quite low. We have to take care when we are doing liquid biopsy in a pathology lab, in molecular pathology lab, but I have to say that the risk with blood samples is, in fact, is quite low. It's because there is no proof currently that the PBMC can be infected by the COVID-19. There is no publication right now. So I think we can see there is some circulating RNA fragment, but I think it's not the whole virus. But saying that, I think we need to take care anyway. Of course, there is a high risk or a risk for frozen tissue, specifically from thoracic pathology, head and neck, and GI tract. But of course, with all samples, specifically from kidney, for example. So I think, of course, there is a higher risk with thoracic pathology samples, head and neck, and GI, but also we have to take care about brain, frozen tissue, kidney tissue, etc., etc. And in a molecular pathology lab, we can receive also some fresh cytology samples, but usually these samples are coming from the clinical pathology lab. So we have to take care about these samples also in molecular pathology laboratories. It depends on the organization. Sometimes the molecular pathology lab is inside the clinical pathology lab. Sometimes it's a different department. So it depends on the institution and the organization. So there is various situation, and I think it should be very important to have the information of the COVID-19 status before receiving samples in the molecular pathology lab. It's exactly the same story that in a clinical pathology laboratory. But as a previous speaker said, we know that there is false negative results for this kind of statement. So also we have to take care about negative COVID-19 patient, because we don't know exactly if it's not a false negative result. So anyway, we have to take care about with all the samples. So if we know that the patient is COVID-19 positive, or if it's unknown status, I think we need to manage the samples in a biosafety level 2 environment. It's critical. And of course, if it's a double negative RT-PCR, I think we can consider that a patient is COVID-19 negative if we have a double negative RT-PCR, not only one. At this time, it's possible to manage the samples as usual for molecular biology. So we can sometimes maybe set up 2 workflows. It's quite a pain, but if we are sure that it's negative, maybe we can use our usual workflow for these samples. So the main recommendation now, there is a couple of recommendations. I will say that as for clinical pathology department, I think we have to take care exactly as the same for the molecular biology department. We need to be sure about the COVID-19 status of the patients. Of course, it's not now possible to use pneumatic tubes. I think it's we need to avoid to use pneumatic tubes, even if we know that the patients are negative for COVID-19, at least for a couple of weeks and near months. in a molecular biology laboratory, is critical to use a certified biological safety hood for gross microscopy, for fresh tissue, for fresh cytology, etc., etc. So we need to use this kind of so it's a new way to use the samples. It's very important to use centrifuge with sealed water and safety cups for cytological and liquid specimen management. So for liquid biopsy, it's very important if we receive liquid biopsy to use this kind of centrifuge. And I will say that for the staff, I think we use PPE in my lab with systematically, even if it's in fixed samples, we need FFP2 mask, 2 pair of gloves, surgical cap, surgical overshoes, and plastic apron over disposal coat. So we use all this safety procedure for my staff. We need also to identify personnel affected through workflow of samples from COVID-19 affected patients. We need to provide communication to all personnel of the clinical and molecular pathology laboratory on risk. I think it's very important to communicate and to give guidelines to all the staff. And of course, it's quite urgent to develop an appropriate training and educational program, including best practices for working in a BCL2, because it's not so easy to work in a BCL2. So I think we need to do that for our residents and to develop now a new appropriate training and educational program for our technicians, but also for our residents in pathology. It's quite urgent to set up that. Some mandatory recommendation to the staff, for the resident, for the technician, for the young pathologist and all pathologists. Of course, we need to ban multi-head microscope examination. We need to deliver how to use disinfection protocol, specifically when we are doing fish analysis. It's very important to know how to disinfect our ocular microscopes every day, anytime, several times a day. We need to be aware that no more than 2 persons are to be present in the BSL2 at the same time. So only 1 person in the BSL2 room. The staff needs to be instructed on how to wear, but also how to dispose personnel PPE. I think it was already said before, it's very important to know how to dispose this kind of equipment. The staff must always wash hands with alcohol solution when moving from one area of the lab to another one. It means that when people is doing some extraction for DNA, he need after to wash his hands when he's coming to another room. It's very important to do not use paper since virus can persist on paper, and it's very important to try to switch on paperless electronic requests. So it's not so easy to do that. It's a new way to work. And of course, it's mandatory to strongly communicate with clinical pathology when we are working in a molecular pathology lab and with the clinical department to know exactly if we can get or not the COVID-19 status. And also, of course, the best practices for using secure packaging for biological risk. I mean, when we transport the samples, even the blocks, even the FFP blocks, we have to take care about that, because we know that the virus can be present on the plastic of the block. So we have to take care about that. Maybe we need to make a decontamination of the blocks. And I think it was already stated, so I'm going fast on this slide. I mean, when we want to work on a BCL2 laboratory, of course, we need to use PPE. We make to make a daily decontamination of all work surfaces. We need to make prevention of injuries, to use an appropriate disposal of contaminated material. And of course, we need to set up some procedures that can cause infections from aerosol and species need. And this should be need under a biological safety cabinet. So in my lab, for example, we use in our molecular biology laboratories this kind of PPE systematically in all the rooms, my staff wear this kind of PPE. For example, one pathologist here, Marius Ili, in my clinical and molecular pathology laboratory. So this is a PPE that we wear in our different clinical and molecular pathology room. And of course, when we are doing autopsy or when we are doing biobanking with fresh sample, we are another equipment in my laboratory. So new organization in the molecular pathology laboratory, of course, is definitely mandatory to limit the number of staff members at the same time. So it's a new reorganization. So we cannot have more than 2 technicians in the BCL2 working at the same time. Of course, it's mandatory to respect the rules of good conduct. It's quite now mandatory to increase the possibility to teleworking for data analysis. For the bioinformatician can stay at home and they need to do teleworking right now. There is a consequences on the turnaround time to deliver the results, specifically when we are using NGS. I think we observe an increase of the turnaround time to deliver the results. So in this case, a special attention must be paid to the urgent development of fast automatic testing platform in association with NGS platform. I don't know if we can do NGS analysis systematically during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's quite interesting to see if we can switch on a fast automatic testing platform at the same time. What we observe now is a decrease of the global molecular pathology activity in the lab, in general in my lab. There is less patients going to the hospital in this stressful period. I think we have less cancer patients, specifically lung cancer patients. And also in my institution, the oncologists could be called for urgently taking care of the COVID-19 patients. It means that we have less oncologists taking care of the cancer patients. And at the end, there is a lower inclusion of patients in clinical trials. It means that the pathology, the molecular pathology associated with these clinical trials decrease suddenly in our institution. And at the end, one impact is an increase of the necessary budget, of course. There is an increase of the PPE used in daily practice in the lab, so it's quite expensive. And also, if we want to switch in fast automated testing platform versus NGS platform, there is an increase of the budget because it's more expensive to use this kind of fast platforms than to use NGS platform at the same time. So it's we need to take care about the increase of the necessary budget in the molecular biology laboratory during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's my last slide. I have a wonderful team. I want to wish, I want to thank all my time working during this COVID-19 pandemic in my lab. And I'm very proud of my team since I stay very, very concentrated during this pandemic story. Thank you very much.